22 jobs, one at a time. This is Backlog Buster's Final Fantasy V Single Job Challenge series. The core rule is to only use the assigned job. I'll be forced to go jobless using Freelancer until the assigned job becomes available. As soon as the job unlocks, I'll switch out of Freelancer and be locked into that job for the rest of the game, for better or for worse. I'll be doing my best to see the majority of the optional content, but it's going to depend on the individual job for some of it. As an additional challenge, I'm going to try and beat the game at as low a level as possible, and to minimize grinding, though some grinding is likely inevitable. Other than that, there are no restrictions. All equipment, game mechanics, and strategies are available to beat the game and see the credits. Working through that lengthy list one by one, this time I'll be playing a Fire Crystal job, and it's about darn time too. It'll be either Ranger or Bard, so I need to freelance it until then. I'm gonna be pragmatic here and work my way down to that wacky black chocobo at Crescent Island, at which point I will fork my save. So if you're watching Ranger only or Bard only and have seen the other video, or you just want to see where the single job challenge truly starts, you can skip ahead to this time code. Ta-da! Otherwise, it's another day, another start of Final Fantasy V. Bards is smashing goblins and snatching up Galoof and Lena, then yoinking that pirate ship to get Ferris in the party too. The Wind Shrine's easy breezy, which of course includes icing Wing Raptor. I'll just have to wait a second, and then kill it once it opens up its guard. One hit off, dude, nice. The Wind Crystal's shattered, but these are not the jobs that I'm looking for. Tool's got some goods. Taking a quick nap at Zox! And he's gonna give me that canal key. Yeah, that's right, get back in the party, Ferris. Dude, could you just imagine if the whole pirate crew came with me throughout this whole game? That would make things a heck of a lot easier. Anyways, Tornacanal's monsters and Carlibos are no problem for a party of 4. This is an absolutely free fight, even jobless. Not surprising for the second boss. If you want to see how truly awful Carlibos can actually be, you can check out my Bards Only challenge on Premium Buster. This is available to both channel members here on YouTube and on the Patreon. Check it out if you want more exclusive videos from your favorite YouTube man. Me, Wes, the Backlog Buster. Hey, and you know what? If you're subscribed, I can tell that you're a person of impeccable taste. But if you're not subscribed, what are you even doing? Hit that button, you know you want to. Shilling accomplished, it's time to tackle the ship graveyard, which again, is not much of an issue. I did spend a little bit of time grinding here because jobless, my stats are absolutely atrocious. Which means Siren can be a bit of a wall since, you know, she actually has some mechanics that you need to deal with. That was a terrible first attempt. The next attempt after some grinding was a lot better, which is to say I was still killed instantly. Attempt 3 was a success though. All you gotta do is attack her while she's in human form, then chuck potions while she's undead. She's donezo. I'm finally out of the ship graveyard, but I'm out of items. Getting to Carwin is not an easy cruise this time around. Skin of my teeth it is. In Carwin though, we've got some new gear and a super valuable item shop. But you know that I'm snatching up that frost rod for smashing. Shopping complete, let's mosey up that North Mountain. Okay, gotta dodge that one flower. Wouldn't want anyone getting poisoned now, would we? Lena, come on! Listen, I know what's gonna happen, and you know what's gonna happen with Magisa. Couple of sword swings into smashing that Carwin frost rod and she's gone. I'm taking her whip as a prize. Oh, come on, Lena, you just got poisoned a second ago, please. The Windrake's mine, so I'm headed down to Walls. New gear's available here, as are those snazzy silver specs. But since I'm jobless for the foreseeable future, it's off to Tycoon Castle. What exactly are the Tycoon family tycoons of? Exactly. I guess it doesn't really matter. I've got the Ashura and the Healing Staff. The Ashura is just a solid weapon and I use it every single time. From one castle to the next. King Walls, you gotta stop using the Water Crystal's power. Oh, it's letting your people live in comfort and prosperity? A king with actually good intentions? Wow, what a shocker. Can't argue with that though, but that meteor is concerning. I'm slashing my way to the top of the Walls Tower. When I'm freelancing, Garula's strategy is the same as usual. Magisa's whip can paralyze magic beast enemies, and that neuters Garula's physicals and counters. The Ashura does a ton of damage, and if Garula's attacks actually go through, I can just beat somebody off with the healing staff. I did get a bit unlucky with the whip's paralyzed procs. Lena and Ferris got turned from the Tycoon Sisters into the Ty Pulp Sisters. Other than that little snag, I've won. One more set of jobs from a shattered crystal. Not this time, but soon. The Walls Tower sinks and Sildra picks me up and then she leaves, never to be seen again. It occurs to me at this very moment that I actually need to play the pianos. Bard is going to need them for sure, and I'm sure Ranger won't mind the enhanced finger dexterity. I got back on the Windrake, flew to Carwin, played the pub's piano, which absolutely ruined the dining experience for everyone there. Then I headed back to Tool. After a brief dance session, I hopped on stage and once again ruined the dining experience. Thankfully, nobody was actually around. That's 2 pianos down, and you can see, I definitely played them both. With that accomplished, I'm meteor teleporting across the world to get to Karnak. First things first, pub 3 piano played. Bards is getting better every single time. Oh, they liked my play and they gave me a coupon. I will now make some purchases at the local shops. Hey, what? You can't do this to me! You have to honor the coupon! Sid's gonna sweet talk my way out of there, and it's time to head into the fire ship. I mean, that's what the main story wants me to do, but I'm getting the weapons and armor that Karnak has on offer. To do that, I need money, and to get money, I need to do a grind session on Wild Knacks. Hey, they raised the prices on me, I have to compensate with extra work. The price of stuff really has gotten out of control. I wish it was 2008 again, for real. After that grind session, I'm stocked up on items and new gear. Yes, I bought tons of smashable rods, and I'm gonna use every single one of them. There's nothing of note for me in the fire ship, I'm just attacking everything on the way to reach the bottom. Queen Karnak, you gotta stop! I sure wouldn't want that fire crystal to blow up, haha. Liquid Flame is liquefied with a single basic attack, followed by 2 shattered frost rods. Liquid Flame's easy peasy. And Queen Karnak can just lay right there. Bye-bye. Suze breaks in and accomplishes absolutely nothing before dying. Dude, nice. I'll tell everyone in Kelb about your noble sacrifice. It's time to get the heck out of Karnak, but I've got to get the goods. I'm starting with that sweet, sweet ribbon in this chest, because I can use it for an extremely brief period of time. Next, I'm looping up and around. Elf Cape acquired after blasting that Gigas and Friends. Then I'm absolutely grabbing the Gauche. Always gotta grab the Gauche. That's everything that I care about in Karnak. I'm rod smashing my way out of here. I think I'll just go ahead and skip the Ironclaw fight. Yeah, get exploded, you dingus. Made it out on time, and then the crystal shards fall from the heavens. Ooh, looks like the 2 I actually wanted went somewhere else. Moving on. The wall's destroyed, so I'm moving down to the ancient library after stocking up on more fire rods to smash. The books down here are going to have a very bad time when I start smashing fire rods all over the place. God, what was that, like 5 enemies back to back? Come on, man. Anyways, taking a secret entrance to find Ifrit. Yeah, somebody's getting frost rod smashed to death. 2 rods later, and yeah, that is enough. Stop fighting me, Ifrit. Onwards to the bottom of the basement for a big boss byblos and a book. I've got some jobs to get, so get exploded to death and I'm out of here. Mid pulls Sid back from the bottom of the bottle, and they're forced to fix up the fire ship for me. Now I'm setting sail for Jack Hole? What? That's kind of weird and different. This is all because I know that there are going to be some potential issues here with a certain job. Bard Hole! Jack Hole's pub has yet another piano as well, and hey, Bards is starting to get pretty good. Better celebrate with a dance. That's right, you get in here, and you too, humble viewer. Once I've got myself some new armor, and especially those mage mashers, I'm finally headed off to Crescent Island, where I am now intentionally sinking the fire ship. This is also the Black Chocobo shows up. I'm heading down to the forest and smacking that Black Chocobo to get those shards out of its gizzard. I can finally use my jobs. 2 hours later. The spooniest job is here. Bard. First things first, let's head back into Crescent. Crescent has the quintessential Bard's house. Truly Bardcore. Behold, the first song! This is the lowly Mighty March. This casts regen on the whole party. The Bard's house houses the next piano. I'm playing it, and now I'm truly on the way to becoming a maestro. That should be the last piano in Bards' world too. I'm hawking all of my non-Bard gear and picking up some silver harps at the shop. Harps have a unique damage formula, which apparently is terrible. Harps deal damage equal to a percentage of the enemy's current health. This is 1/16 of the target's current health for the first silver harp. Oh my god, that's bad. This first random battle outside of Crescent was rough, to say the least. But the party of Bards won, somehow, despite their abysmal strength. My damage output is going to be a real problem in this challenge. At the very least, Bard can equip daggers, which is the least neglected weapon class in the game. I have the Black Chocobo, and that means I can access quite a few new areas. Starting off, I'm flying to Istory, a short loop around, and I'm poking that sheep right in the rear. Kicked over the wall, hey look, another Bard.
Behold, the second song, Great Fist of Antiquity.
Hey, that's not what it's called, this is Romeo's Ballad. Romeo's Ballad casts a short stop on all enemies. Next on the Black Chocobo World Tour is Lix, Bards' hometown. I'm heading straight into Bards' house, and it's been taken over by another spoony Bard. Checking the music box leads to a flashback so tear-jerking that the bards reminded of something.
Behold the third song! Quickened puppets of antiquity!
These guys really just don't know what their own songs are called. This is Alluring Air, which casts Confuse on all enemies. That's it. 3 songs is all that I can pick up in the first world. I should be able to get some better armor and licks though. Oh great, bards can't wear any of the good physical job gear. Truly pathetic weaklings. I accidentally hawked my mage mashers back in Crescent. Better go get a few more. I'm doubling back to Jackal to get the best daggers I can actually use for the rest of Bards' world. 3 mage mashers acquired, because the main gauche is the supreme dagger of this world. Never, ever forget to grab the gauche. That's all I can do, and I'm as ready as I'll ever be. Let's see what those brain lords are up to at the library. Oh, you've made a thumper to call the Sandworm. I'm not confident in my survivability, or damage output, so let's talk shop about Bard for a second. Bard is clearly designed as a back row support job. Harps are evidently dumpster tier, so I'm going to be forced to use daggers, which means I'm either killing stuff at a snail's pace doing half damage from the back row, or I'm being brave, and more likely stupid, and smashing for full damage in the front row. Neither of these are great options, since full damage means low damage in Bard's case. Bard songs at this point in the game are basically instant cast, no cost spells. You fire it off, and it's done. No MP required. That's a little bit too much to think for one day. It's time to tackle Shai Halud. I'm starting this battle off with Mighty March for regen. Regen is apparently next to useless. Great. Oh well, it's one of my only abilities and you know I'm gonna use it. At the very least, Mighty March is a fire it off and forget it spell. Let's try the rest of the songs. Okay, Romeo's Ballad missed the Sandworm and caused gravity counters from the holes. That one's out. And there's no way that Alluring Air is gonna do anything. Looks like the only thing I can do is slashing away with knives. Without access to white magic, I just don't have any healing options in World 1 besides potions and elixirs. There's no chance I can win before I'm inevitably killed by the Sandworm. My damage output is complete trash, and my support skills simply don't work. Very, very cool. Hello wolves, my old friends. I've come to grind on you again. Because a sandworm softly creeping left its sand while I was singing, and the vision that was planted in my brain still remains. My bard's taking a dirt nap because my songs don't do anything and my damage sucks. I grinded on Wild Nax until I mastered Bard. Bard is one of the easiest jobs to master, thankfully. You get such banger abilities as Equip Harps, i.e. completely useless, and Hide, which lets your characters be a lowly coward and simply leave the battlefield. This is exactly like the Dragoon's Jump, except it doesn't do anything. Jump is widely considered one of the worst moves in the game, by the way. Finally, for mastering Bard, you get the Mighty Sing command, which evidently also basically does nothing. But that's not entirely true. It's becoming apparent that 1 or 2 bards spamming Romeo's Ballad locks down a lot of random encounters near permanently with Stop. That's really good for not taking damage during random encounters, but it means that my already terrible damage output is now halved. I'm using 1 to 2 singers for Romeo's Ballad and about 2 attackers slicing away with butter knives. After a lengthy grind, I'm finally leaving. I've got 200,000 gil burning a hole in my pocket. It's also apparent that I'm going to need that elf cape in the Walls Castle basement. Thankfully, after that massive grind, I'm actually able to survive the jackanapes long enough to run away. Elf cape 2 acquired and I'm out of the basement. Now I'm heading back to Istria again to become the Lord of the Rings. The only rings that will help me out right now are Angel Rings. These grant a whopping 10 magic resistance and immunity to old and zombie. These Angel Rings are immediately useful for the Sandworm for that 10 magic resistance, and they'll basically be required for the Soul Cannon for the old resistance. Back on track, I'm down to clown with Shai Halud once again at level 26. Starting the battle off with Mighty March. Now it's time to attack. Oh boy, these damage numbers are still just terrible. The levels and the Angel Rings are helping, I think. I'm occasionally dodging a quicksand and it's 60 HP tax. The Sandworm moves up to the front row now, which means my damage output goes up substantially, but suddenly he's moved to the back row. Oh, somehow, some way I've won. Death by 1,000 cuts looks to be the strategy moving forward. You know that I'm saving after that fight. I'm moseying on through the desert, killing everything that I see. God knows I'm gonna need the EXP. I'm also going to do something I never do, which is fork my save. Bard has proven to be so gosh darn terrible at killing things that I am genuinely concerned about getting hard stuck. I'm down into the catapult once again, and up into the skies again, once again. Here he is, the crab of the hour, Crayclaw. Crayclaw is usually a complete non-threat to, well, everything. What do you got, Bard? Whoa, 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 hold the phone. Romeo's Ballad Stop works? That is a game changer. It sure doesn't last that long, but stopping enemies is definitely going to save me a lot of health. Oh my god, my damage output is so bad. I have to have 2 bards spamming Romeo's Ballad just to keep Crayclaw locked down. If I don't, he's just going to kill me because I can't race him at all. Everyone's in critical health except Bards because of Tail Screw. Dude, nice. Oh, look at that. Regen ticked at least 1 time. Very cool, very strong, and very useful ability, that Mighty March. Crayclaw could kill me easily by just using 1 attack, but he's opting to continue to spam Tail Screw. This is actually whiffing quite a bit due to my absurdly high level at this point and Angel Rings. Thank goodness. Finally, I sliced that oversized crab down with physical attacks. This was the hardest Crayclaw of my life. The Bard saga manages to continue, somehow. The Ronka runes are raised and I'm off to get the adamantite. Easy snatch. What's a lowly turtle gonna do? Oh my god, that hurts! Hang on, is that damage a mistake? Not even 20? Are you kidding? Okay, well, let's try the silver harp. Oh boy, 112, just great. The party is dusted. It's well past obvious at this point that a support job with nothing but itself to support is a real problem. Especially when that job has no offensive or defensive capabilities at all. Edward, as the first bard, I'm gonna have a word with you when I replay Final Fantasy IV. There's no recourse for this fight with Adamantoise. I can put on my 2 elf capes and the main gauche to try to stop some physicals, but I'm gonna get curb stomped regardless. Perhaps the back row will work. Oh my god, why do harps have such garbage accuracy too? Their damage formula already sucks. Why do they have to double suck? I'm hitting single-digit numbers from the back row. These are numbers I never thought I'd see in a Final Fantasy game, ever. With no way to heal other than potions, I have no chance of beating Adamantoise. And no, Romeo's Ballad does not work. Thank you for asking. I'm headed to Black Flame Island because the only chance I have is getting levels under my belt. Romeo's Ballad works here, so I can lock the Black Flames down and very, very slowly whittle them to death. I can tell that this grind is going to be completely relentless, just like Berserker. Say what you will about Berserker only, but you know what? At the very least, Berserkers have damage output. I would love to be playing Berserkers at this point, let me tell ya. With my bards at level 30, I opted to try Adamantoise again. Did my damage improve? Not really. These Mage Mashers really may as well just be butter knives. Surely I have better survivability at least. Haha, you funny guy. The Adamantoise has 2,000 health. If I hit it for 20 damage a popple in the front row, that means I need 100 connections to win. Truly ludicrous numbers. Adamantoise isn't even supposed to be a hard boss. It's a mere stepping stone to get up to the Soul Cannon in Archaeoavis. I'm trying attempts and losing left and right, but it's becoming obvious that my only real out is the Silver Harp. 1/16 of Adamantoise's current health is significantly higher damage output than the daggers. If the Harp's damage output was based off of max health, 16 attacks would be nice, but that's not the case. It's based off of current health. That means that every subsequent Harp connection deals reduced damage. This is a truly horrific damage formula, and whoever implemented it truly hates the Bard class. The Silver Harps are simply my only option though. I'll have to whittle down Adamantoise with my Harps. Then once I get Adamantoise low enough, I'll have to finish it off by swapping to daggers. How I reached that point currently is a giant mystery to me. I'm back at Black Flame Island continuing the relentless grind. I did more attempts at level 34. Harp's horrific accuracy is in full force here. I'm constantly whiffing. At the very least, Harps are back row okay, so I'm sitting there and praying for a connection. The strategy is sound, but this is the most intense Adamantoise of my life. I would love nothing more than to cast level 5 death and get the heck out of here. I have no other choice, I have to resort to spamming the few high potions that I've acquired. And at this point I've invested so much into this fight, I have to hard commit. The Harp hits are few and far between, but they're down to 50. It's getting kinda close. I'm forced to resort to spamming elixirs just to stay alive. There's no way that potions can keep up. Elixirs are my only real option now. Being forced to use elixirs to beat Adamantoise is extremely embarrassing, but this is the reality I'm living in Bard only. Ferris continues to whittle off 20 damage a hit with the main gauche. Harps are now down to 40 a hit. I need to spam the last of my elixirs. I know I can win though. Finally down to 20 damage a hit on Harps. It's time to swap to my knives. I'm on the cusp of victory, but the cusp of victory is actually a very long ways off. I'm using my final elixir on Galoof. 14 damage a hit on my daggers. Lena and Galoof are dealing sub 10 damage? Dude, nice! I'm completely out of elixirs and healing items. My only option is to race him at this point and cut him down before he kills me. The main gauche and double elf capes really kept me alive in this horrific fight for Bards. But I managed to win. I finally cut Adamantoise down. Death by 1,000 cuts is the understatement of the century. It's always interesting to see which bosses are major walls for which jobs, but man, when you actually have to do them, it's never any fun. I've never been more stressed out at this nothing burger of a boss fight. I'm completely out of high potions and elixirs. I still have several bosses that will no doubt obliterate me in Bards' world. I really hoped that I wouldn't have to resort to this, but I've already hit an insurmountable wall. A lack of sustained healing is a massive problem for a lot of jobs in these challenges. It's generally overcome by having some very strong job abilities or some outside-the-box thinking. Unfortunately, Bard is the first job where I have no other options. I'm going to be forced to grind elixir drops from enemies. There are a few locations where you can do this. The first is way back at the Wind Shrine. You can kill mold winds for rare elixir drops. Next is that west of Karnak you can find zoo enemies. They also occasionally drop elixirs. There's no good way to do this, it's just raw time investment and praying for elixir drops. After a while, I was bored. Why not continue the relentless grind though? Back to Black Flame Island to grind even more levels. Levels will give me more health, and more health means more elixir value when I hawk them. A brief grinding session of about 2 hours for elixirs and levels. Surely I'm ready to make some progress. But then I'm taking a brief detour to Istory. From all of that grinding I needed to do, I have enough money for 4 flame rings, 4 coral rings, and all of the items I could ever hope to carry. Now I'm flying up to take on the defense batteries on the Wonky Ronky Ruins. Finally. Flame rings on means the flamethrowers are absolutely free. At least they would be if I actually put them on. Great job, Wes. 2 for 2 on having but not using flame rings for this crystal set. Bards wore down the first flamethrowers relatively painlessly though. I'm not taking any risks with Bard. I'm heading down, refreshing, and saving. The next rocket launchers were not a huge threat. Missiles Confuse is honestly not even that scary. What are my Bards gonna do? Cut themselves for less than 100 damage? Haha. It turns out that the side launchers are susceptible to Romeo's Ballad. Bart's chain stopped them as Lena, Galoof, and Ferissimo over here cut them down. Romeo's Ballad is really proving to be the best aspect of Bard by far. Not that there's really much else in the running. Despite doing my absolute darndest to destroy all machines, the Soul Cannon has chosen to rise up against me. I've got angel rings on, so old is a non-issue, and you know what? That damage against the Soul Cannon itself is not completely awful. Color me surprised. Uh-oh, Wave Cannon's coming out. Everybody, cheese it! That's right, I'm gonna use Bard's most useless ability, Hide. I can get everyone off the screen, avoid the Wave Cannon, and then jump back in and continue the battle. This first attempt was going very, very well. I ignored the side launchers and just focused on bonking the Soul Cannon to death. But it turns out that the Wave Cannon comes out faster and faster every single time. Lena and Galoof got desynced from the party and then atomized. Then Ferris ate it, and then Bards was all that was left. I was hopeful, but one final Wave Cannon came out. I fired up another attempt with silver harps this time. What a joke, Wesley. I didn't even land a single attack on the Soul Cannon. I'm thinking harps have had exactly one usage this playthrough. I'm doing another attempt using the hide strategy. This one went way worse than last time. You'd think it'd be easy to just pop in and out at the right time, but it's just not working that well. I'm conceding that I'm probably just gonna have to eat the wave cannons. That means the only way I can heal myself enough is to use elixirs. And honestly, I'm just gonna cut to the chase here. There was a massive amount of grinding. Grind elixirs for an hour, do some attempts, lose, grind black flames for an hour for levels, grind some more elixirs, do some more attempts, lose. Bards just can't stop losing. But at level 48, I finally had an attempt that could go the distance. That's right, level 48. A higher level than most jobs have beaten this challenge at. I also turned the battle speed to the absolute slowest it can go, and I went in for this one. I opted to kill the side launchers this time. The gravity attacks are going to make it very difficult to survive the wave cannon. Once those side launchers are gone, it's just attacking until a wave cannon comes out. Then the bards have to just sit there and take it. Afterwards, I'm using an elixir on everyone in my party to get them back to full health. Then I resume the butter knifing. 200 damage a swing at level 48 is downright embarrassing, but it was enough to kill the soul cannon. You know, like 10, 15 elixirs later, who's counting? I really cannot believe how much effort that took, but I'm finally in the Ronka Ruins. The Ronka Ruins are really just racing straight to the bottom. Romeo's Ballad keeps the majority of the enemies stopped as I continue to deal absolutely horrendous damage with my best weapons. Beautiful. Stop, 3 cuts. Stop, 3 cuts. Wash, rinse, repeat all the way to the bottom. Hello, Archeoavis, my old nemesis. Surely this will go better than the Soul Cannon. Oh my god, why? Even Ferris with her main gauche is hitting for sub 100 damage. I can't believe how truly awful bards are at attacking. The saving grace of being level 48 at this point is that I have a boatload of HP to weather attacks. The only things I can do with Bard are open up with Mighty March for regen, and then start attacking. Once I'm low on health, I'm spamming elixirs because that's all I've got. At least after the first form dies, I can deal some reasonable damage. For whatever reason, that first form was just brutal. Finally, and after even more elixirs than I care to count, Archeoavis falls, and then revives itself. Round 2, baby, let's do this. 200 plus damage is actually good numbers for Bard, so I'll take it. I'm continuing to spam items and elixirs. I'm hard committing to getting through this fight. After many cuts, Archeoavis dies. Cryo electrocutes King Tycoon and the Earth Crystal shatters. God, I wish I could use any one of those jobs. Seriously, even the degenerate Dragooner would be better than this noodly armed charlatan. The part that I've been dreading the most happens. I lose Galoof. My merry little band of misfits already sucks, and now it's even worse. Brainlording across Bards' world, the Meteor Tour begins. The bomb squad is susceptible to Romeo's Ballad. You know that that's getting spammed. I've got 1 Romeo's Ballader and 2 Mage Masher-ers. With 1 Bard spamming Romeo's Ballad, I can keep the bombs permanently stopped, and Bards and Farissimo can slowly whittle them down. Not a single arise or self-destruct, you love to see it. That's 1 boss down. Titan at Karnak's next. Oh, look at that, Romeo's Ballad still works. I couldn't keep Titan permanently stopped, so I ate some Earthshakers. Listen, if Bards had problems with Earthshakers at level 48, I'd be on the verge of tears. Romeo's Ballad connected right before I killed Titan, so no final attack Earthshaker came out. Next, please. The final boss is the Chimera Brain. Opening Mighty March, and once again, it's susceptible to Romeo's Ballad. All these bosses being susceptible to Romeo's Ballad is kind of shocking, but after all the effort that this took to get to this point, I deserve these freebies. Chimera Brain was completely shut down with Romeo's Ballad as I buttered his biscuits. I have 15 elixirs left. Yes, I grinded for a metric ton of them, and I used just as many. Bard has gone so badly at this point that I genuinely considered grinding for more elixirs. But availability for high potions is on the cusp. I'm jumping into that hole. Of course, not before making a backup save in case Galoof's world goes very, very poorly. I'm teleported into a prison cell. Well, you know, I've basically been trapped in the Wind Shrine for hours, so what's the difference? It's solo Galoof versus Gilgamesh. Main Gauche with the Elf Cape, lend me your power. It's seriously the only chance I have. Galoof has 2,000 health, so I shouldn't be surprised that I was able to trade blows with Gilgamesh. But that was definitely closer to blasting an elixir than I would have liked. The big bridge battle gauntlet is going slow, but Romeo's Ballad is turning every battle into the same old song and dance. Romeo's Ballad, 3 cuts. Romeo's Ballad, 3 cuts. I'm opting to open with the lowly Mighty March on Gilgamesh. Is Gilgamesh susceptible to Romeo's Ballad? No, of course not. Why wouldn't anything nice ever happen? The butter knifing it is. Oh, just beautiful. Protect having my already dumpster tier damage output. As soon as you change job to Bard, you just become a little noodly armed shrimp guy. Just a little shrimp, a shrimpleton. But somehow those little shrimps made it through the Gilgamesh fight using an embarrassing, but undisclosed amount of elixirs. Out of there, I'm barrier blasted to Regol. The Ballad 3-cut combo gets me there relatively unscathed. From all of that grinding I have to do, I'm the wealthiest I've ever been, and may ever be again in Final Fantasy V. I'll take everything and anything that I can get my hands on. New daggers? Finally. It's been 84 years. Yeah, sure, I'll take the Dream Harps too, but I can bet that those are just abysmal. Fully clad in new gear, I'm buying all the items, and I do mean all of them. Now for the secret hidden piano in the pub. Why would the Rigol pub owner do this? Enough of that place forever. I'm running to my Moogle friend. I did opt to try out Alluring Air here. My bards are actually killing enemies fairly painlessly though. This is what 48 levels with some decent knives will do, folks. Alluring Air is actually working pretty well, giving me a slightly more damage output as the crabs and Moogle eaters hit themselves. I'm finally at the end of that underwater cave system. All that I saw there were wet rocks, who could have predicted this? Tyrannosaur, yeah, no interest in getting smacked with question mark, question mark, question mark. I'm throwing a phoenix down and moving on with my life. I bypassed the desert and entered the Moogle Forest. A third elf cape and the dancing dagger are mine. I'm gonna have to use the dancing dagger, aren't I? Yeah. Yeah, I am, aren't I? Oh, no. Ooh, turns out I've got a gig in Ball Castle. Oh, it's because Galoof owns the place, cool. If all I can get are gigs from wealthy friends, what's the point? I feel like it's time to get a real job. Maybe being a merchant is the right call. Fired on my first day, but at least I got the Lamia's harp as severance. I'm sure that I'll never use this because it's clear as day that harps are complete trash. What's that? The Windrake needs grass? Listen, as a couch-surfing musician in a garage band, I know exactly where to get some of that. Waltzing into Kelb? What are those wolfmen up to? Oh my god, I wish I could wear the entire set of strength gear. But power wrists are all that I can use, and you know what? 3 strength is 3 strength, and at this point I need all the help I can get. What's going on in that mosh pit?
Behold, the 4th song! Impenetrable shield of antiquity!
You know, I would call this Requiem, but alright, guy. Requiem is the first and only offensive ability that bards get. This is an instant cast song that deals very high damage to undead enemies and whiffs on everything else. It's convenient to pick this up right before entering Dragonville, filled to the brim with skeleton dragons. The first chanting of Requiem, what's the damage? 2,500? Man, I can get behind this. The Dancing Dagger is actually doing decently too. At this point, anything's a win, man. Spamming Requiem and Romeo's Ballad with basic butter knifings gets me through Drakenville relatively painlessly. I even saved Golem. Honestly, Requiem is probably the easiest way to do that too. Requiem damages just the dragons and leaves Golem unscathed. At the summit, the illegal grass is in sight. I'm snagging it. Oh my god, it was a sting operation! The Dragon Pod immediately summons ads. Pro, please, get a mechanic. The bards cut them down. Oh ho ho, how convenient this is for me. The Dragon Pod is susceptible to Romeo's Ballad? Bards is locking down the Dragon Pod with Romeo's Ballad while the other bards make that Dragon Pod a meal. Anyways, back at Ball. Psst, kid, you want some grass? The quality's right here on display. Lena's completely toasted. Blazed out of his gourd, the Windrake flies to heights never before seen. That's really the good stuff. I gotta pass it to my boy Zaza of the Dawn Warriors. Aw man, he's not here. Wait, what's in this book?
Behold, the 5th song! Grand Light of Antiquity!
Guys, that's not what it's called. This is Zaza's favorite, the Swift Song. These final buffing songs function a bit differently than the other songs so far. When you initiate singing one of these buff songs, the bard will sing continuously until they get hit. After they get hit, the singing stops. The Swift Song continually raises the party's speed. These buff songs will be the bard's core strategy moving forward. I'm gonna buff my characters to absurd stat levels and then start actually fighting. Whoa, man, is that a talking turtle? Finally, here's Zaza. Dude looks like he's completely cooked with that hairdo. Gilgamesh's gobbledygook pirate parade is getting butter knifed to death. Now for the big man himself, Gilgamesh. Starting with Mighty March, why? Why are you doing that, Wes? It's such a waste. Now, finally to try out the Swift Song. I gave the harps another chance. Why am I still using Mighty March? Why am I still trying harps? I don't know what I'm doing, man. But after a substantial amount of butter knifing, Enkidu shows up. Swift Song is undoubtedly useful, but locking Lena down for the whole fight for increased speed is kind of annoying, I'm not gonna lie. Bards is managing to hit sword dances for 2,000 damage, so you love to see that. The Dancing Dagger is going to be a staple for the rest of this run, I can tell. Goodbye, Enkidu. Gilgamesh made a very valiant effort and took out most of my party, but Phoenix Downs are pretty good, and resorting to spamming high potions means I'll win, eventually. Down into Zaza's homemade sub once again. What are you gonna see at the bottom of the ocean? Some wet rocks? Bards are really gonna need all the help that they can get. I'm farming 4 reflect rings in the barrier tower. No ifs, ands, or barts about it. The classic strategy of Romeo's Ballad into 3 cuts. I see that my damage has tanked once again. 100 damage a cut is just downright awful. At least I have Sword Dance. Never thought that I'd be happy to see the dance command, but this is the reality of bards. Farming 4 reflect rings took over an hour, but I've got them. Now I'm at the top and fighting Atmos. Well, looks like harps are worthless as usual. Why am I still bothering to try? It's daggers, all day, every day. Romeo's Ballad, of course, does nothing. All I can do is damage race Atmos. This is actually a serious problem for bards and their shrimp-like physiques. The only chance I have is the Dancing Dagger spamming Sword Dance enough times. This first attempt was a wash. I spent way too long trying to get harps to connect before swapping to my butter knives. For attempt 2, I wonder. Atmos is just gonna spam Comet over and over again until somebody dies. But what if I simply wasn't there? Quick, hide! I got myself a little bit of a game theory. If all of my characters hide, he'll keep trying to use Comet until he's out of MP. Then when I come back out, he'll try to use Comet to kill someone, only for it to fail. That should mean that I don't actually have to worry about Bard damage racing Atmos. Here it is, no effect, but it's kinda late. I'm gonna go to bed. Good night, everybody. I woke up after a solid 8 hours and brought out the gang. Looks like that was a complete and utter waste of time. Obviously, Comet going no effect means it didn't get used and no MP was actually consumed. This may work in other versions of the game, but on the Pixel Remaster, that's a no bueno. Damage racing Atmos truly was inevitable. I'm level 51 at this point, and I have to put my faith in the Dancing Dagger carrying me to victory. A round of basic attacks is a lowly 1000 damage. But hilariously, I'm so high level that Atmos is actually having some trouble putting anyone down to start slurping them up like a spaghetti noodle. Finally, Farissimo over here falls. Then everyone gets nailed with Sloga. Dude, nice. I don't have a lot of confidence that I'm gonna win here, so I'm adapting my strategy. Galoof is singing the speed song and I'm reviving Ferris. I'm gonna do my best to keep everyone up and weather the storm of comets. Slow actually wore off and then Galoof ate it, but I can just let him get sucked a little bit closer. I Phoenixed down Galoof and Lena just before they got slurped up. It's Ferris's turn to be the patsy. But just before she's sucked into the maw, Bards gets a final sword dance out, killing Atmos. This is the longest time that I've spent in here by far, and I'm glad that it's over. Bad luck about Zaza though. My new tour bus happens to be amphibious. I know I saw a turtle on that vision quest. Turns out, it was all real. My merry band of minstrels is moseying down to more. First step is a new piano, just right here out in the open. Hang on, that doesn't sound quite right. After snatching up the second main gauche in that barrel, I can finally get some new gear. Air knives and new armor. I'll take anything I can get at this point. Entering the forest with a classic Romeo's Ballad 1, 2, 3 cuts. Turns out that someone took Blaze It just a little too literally here. I'm headed straight to the crystals. Air knives will not be usable in this fight since the wind crystal will just absorb it. I'm putting my faith in the Dancing Dagger and double main gauches. Everyone's got a flame ring on for my obvious strategy. I'm opening up with Mighty March as usual. Even though regen is clearly a waste of time, I'm gonna keep using it every single battle. Now I'm gonna focus all of my damage output on the fire crystal, and very, very slowly whittle it down while I weather the barrage of physical attacks. Bards is gonna sing Zaza's speed song to hopefully speed up this process. Eventually the fire crystal is at half health through a light spreading of the butter. Now the fire crystal is spamming Fire Egg on my party, which they absorb because of those flame rings. I don't know how else I would handle this fight besides spamming elixirs as bards. Thank God that the fire crystal's on my side, and that I had the foresight to buy every single type of ring from Mystery. Now it's just whittling the crystals down one at a time. Water, earth, and then the wind crystal in the back. The fire crystal's been a good friend, but I've gotta take it out to move on. Speaking of moving on, oh boy is this a long fight versus X-Death. Galoof needs to do like 7,000 damage to end the battle. That's a lot of butter knife scrapings with the gauche. A classic of all of your favorite bands. Somebody leaves the party or they die, and then they're unceremoniously replaced. Galoof's position wasn't really that important. He was just the bass player after all. Get in here, random girl who just happens to be right here. Yep, sounds exactly the same, nothing's changed at all. I put on my reflect rings, and finally I can use the air knives. Let's do this. There's nothing for bards in the castle, to no one's surprise. I'm just racing my way to the top. Sure do love getting stuck in fights with red dragons. My damage output is so bad that I'm unable to kill them as they heal themselves with Atomic Ray over and over again. Eventually, by spamming Swift Song, I get enough turns to cut it down, but by golly, this is just painful. And speaking of painful, you know that I'm fighting Gilgamesh. It's the only chance I have to take on Necrophobe. Swiftly swinging for speed boosts, and I'm beginning the butter knifing. The air knife's damage output is surprisingly not god-awful. Well, Farissimo over here is going to be the dedicated high potion chucker. Doubly so after getting time slipped. Triply so after being minied. Leave that girl alone. High potion spam is enough to get through Gilgamesh relatively unscathed. It's time for the music man himself, X-Death. Will my spoony bards have what it takes to beat him at level 52? God, I hope so. Bards has the Dancing Dagger, and everyone else is air knifing it. Sick doom. Throwing down Mighty March once again, and Farissimo gets singing Zaza's speedy song. Pushed into the back row, hitting for 100 damage a hit. This is just the reality of life at this point. I will cut X-Death over and over and over again until I win. But let's try Harp since back row? Okay, baby. Harps are whiffing yet again. Why would I even bother trying? What's wrong with me? For this fight, I definitely need a dedicated high potion chucker. Basic attacks are hitting me for 700 plus damage. Absolutely disgusting. Grinding 4 reflect rings was absolutely the right choice. Bio was reflected, as was level 3 flare. My strategy for beating X-Death is by making X-Death beat himself. Once I finish X-Death, I'm back in Bards' world, and that means I can farm more elixirs, if push comes to shove. There's no need to be stingy, baby. Throw every single one of them. 120 damage a cut. This is downright painful. Bards actually succumbed to Doom. That has not happened in a long time. You gotta get him up, ladies. He's the front man. To say this fight took a lot of items is the understatement of the year. I gave up counting how many high potions, phoenix downs, and elixirs that I used. Bards gets a sword dance off, which puts X-Death into his final phase. He's spamming tier 3 magic, which means this fight's on the way out. Reflecting magic back at himself is the best case scenario for me. Double vacuum wave still destroy me, but I've got phoenix downs to handle that one. The occasional sword dance along with X-Death nuking himself means that I'm finally finished. The new bass player finished him off after all. It's inevitable that every band has a temporary breakup. It's time for Bart's and Kryle's duo project, Boo Bart's moment. I've lost the tour bus, so I gotta call in a favor from an old friend. The antline is usually not a problem because most of the other jobs I've used were capable of dealing damage. Romeo's Ballad is a big no. Dude, sick. Put your faith in the Dancing Dagger once again, boys. I've been discorded so many times that I'm hitting for sub 100 damage. I have to spam elixirs just to survive. This is truly pathetic. Let's never speak of this fight again. Ferris is back in and it's time for Exposition City. Right, get the secret tablets for the legendary lyrics or something, I got it. Hold the phone, this next song's actually missable. I'm heading back into the library and up to the furnace. I'll make sure to behold the 6th song! Regular book of antiquity. Listen, there's no 6 in Drakengard 3, alright? It's just Zero and her 5 sisters. You can argue who's best girl in the comments, but just so you know, my best girl is better than your best girl. Okay, it's 5. 5 in her massive gams, alright? Mana's Pain slowly boosts your magic in battle. For completion's sake, I've got it, but it's never getting used. I'm running as fast as I can to get back to more. There is exactly one solution to my damage problems, and it's the chicken knife. How much damage does it currently have? 20! This is not optimum. I've already grinded a disgusting amount with Bards. It's only fitting that I run from the 255 battles required to max out the chicken knife. Right here, right now. Pretty much on the money 1 hour later of cowardly fleeing from battles, and I've maxed it out. It's time to test it out on those Gargoyle Guardians. Instantly trying to flee, dude, nice. Well, Romeo's Ballad, you sly dog. Working a treat on the Gargoyles. Whoa, baby, 2850 from the chicken knife? Finally, some numbers I can get behind. Math, my old friend, don't let me down. I'll whittle both the Gargoyles down to a single hit left and then spam double Romeo's Ballad to lock them down. When the Gargoyles are stopped, they can't revive themselves, so Bards can slug them down. Mission accomplished, I'm in. Pyramid of More is a snap to get through. Romeo's Ballad can lock down everything for Bards to kill them with the chicken knife. Honestly, if I get a flea proc, I'm counting that as a win too. Get me out of here. There are a surprising number of undead enemies in the pyramid, and that sounds like a job for Requiem. Oh, look at that, a Lamia's Tiara dropped. Improves your chance of using Sword Dance. Surely that works with the Dancing Dagger, right? Maybe I'll give it a shot. Here I am at the top. I'm making the call. It's time to get the band back together for the reunion tour. Meluzine's really the final wall. I can feel it. I've got reflect rings on everyone, which should largely neuter Meluzine's magic attacks. I've got the chicken knife on Bards. Kryle has the Lamia's Tiara plus Dancing Dagger. 900 damage with the chicken knife through Meluzine's barrier. Listen, I'm never gonna complain about that one. And it looks like the Lamia's Tiara does work with the Dancing Dagger because there's quite a few sword dances coming out. It does look like Meluzine is also susceptible to Romeo's Ballad. Doesn't last that long, but that is a task for Ferissimo. She can stay as backing vocals. I got very lucky with barrier changes. She swapped to her physical weak form pretty quickly. Then Bart's using the chicken knife and some fully powered sword dances took her out. I'm back on the airship and the world's my oyster, and with the band back together, we're going on tour. Starting off with the standard trip to Phantom Village. I'm grabbing that thief knife, it's actually one of my best weapons. Then I'm headed down to finish out the pianos. This piano's secretly hidden. Hang on, that's good, but shouldn't it say I mastered the piano? I know that I've played them all. Whatever. Black Chocobo rescued and I'm back in. Yeah, give me everything. My best armor is actually the white robe for +3 stamina. Magic ain't gonna do much for these bards. Now I'm buying 3 more Lamia's tiaras. The sword dance bonus is nice, but what I'm really after is the confuse immunity. One less status effect to worry about is always welcome. You know the real reason that I'm here though. I'm buying 4 pairs of Hermes sandals. These are the best accessory in the game, bar none. They grant permanent haste and immunity to slow, stop, and paralyze. Now I'm heading back to Crescent Island. The bard's gonna want to hear this. Behold the 7th song, Grand Piano of Antiquity. This sinewy etude is mine. This functions a lot like the speed song, but raises my strength. That's gonna be very useful. But why didn't I get the 8th song? I didn't miss a piano, but it obviously didn't count one of them. I really am doing the world tour after all. Jekyll's piano played again? Oh, that's it. I heard the achievement ding. Back to Crescent now for the final song. Behold the 8th song, Grand Song of Antiquity. Just kidding, this is the final song. Black song with white scales. The nightmares will never fade. Hero's Rhyme raises the level of your party. Level manipulation is super powerful in Final Fantasy V. You have your character's base level, but your actual in-combat level can go as high as level 255. Your level is used in pretty much all of the behind-the-scenes math in Final Fantasy V, and higher equals better. I have all 8 songs, but I can still power spike my bards. I'm headed to the sealed castle of Kuza. I snagged the Assassin's Dagger and the Apollo's Harp, the only weapons that I can actually use. The Apollo's Harp is unique in that it deals 8 times damage to dragon and undead enemies. A harp that actually does damage is downright shocking. I'm just gonna snag the Excalibur for number 3 because it's convenient. I've got the Chicken Knife, Assassin's Dagger, Apollo's Harp, and the Thief Knife. I've officially peaked. Oh yeah, and the Monsters of the Void are released, or something. Let's try out this Apollo's Harp on a shield dragon on the way out. Reflected? Bro, nice. Okay, harps are absolutely dumpster tier now and forever. The Island Shrine calls. God bless the Assassin's Dagger. Hasted Crow got back-to-back instant death procs on the gargoyles. Was the bass player truly the glue holding the band together this whole time? Nothing to note in the Island Shrine, I'm heading straight down to the Wendigo. It took until the very, very end of the game, but Bard has finally reached its full potential. The strategy moving forward for every single fight should be obvious. I'm gonna spam the 3 main buffing songs. Swift Song for speed, Sinewy Etude for strength, and Hero's Rhyme for level. This is to increase my stats to very high, if not the max. Then I can unleash the true potential of Bard with my dinky little butter knives. The Chicken Knife is absolutely no slouch. That's hitting like a dump truck. And it's only getting better as the fight goes on. Confuse? Ha! Lamia's Tiara called, it's status immune. Wendigo's cut down easily, I've won. For the Fork Tower, once again I'm taking my standard out. I'm heading to Moor and grabbing Fire 3. The Fork Tower is totally optional and you never have to do it, but it does gate off other optional content. I can easily get through it by running away from battles and then running Omniscient out of MP, using a Reflect Ring over the course of 14 hours or so, but I ain't got time for that. I've already wasted like 9 hours trying to run Atmos out of MP. No, I'm blasting Omniscient with Flame Rod boosted Fire 3s and moving on with my life. Oh right, Minotaur's here. Well, you can guess that Minotaur is getting eviscerated by a maxed out Chicken Knife. I brought 3 of the 4 band members here, so there's no chance I'd have any other problems. Omniscient, this is just Lena's solo project, spamming Fire 3 and losing the challenge as usual. With the Fork Tower down, I can get into the catapult, and those wacky brain lords are upgrading my ship into a /submarine. The final dungeons are on the horizon, or under the horizon, or something. Let's start with what Bard's best at, the Undersea Trench. First, just gotta take out the gargoyles one last time. This is just a case of buffing my characters, then spamming Romeo's Ballad and basic attacks, a completely brainless affair. If there is one single dungeon where Bard excels, it's down here in the trench. Every single enemy is undead and susceptible to Requiem. One Requiem at level 50 is easily wiping the board. A dream for Requiem all the way to the bottom, which continues. That's right, those disgusting pig gremlins are undead, thus susceptible to Requiem as well. 5 castings of Requiem and it's all over. They got exactly 1 attack off. Easiest undersea trench so far and probably in the entirety of these challenge runs. I don't see it ever getting any better than this. I'm heading straight into Istri Falls now. It's a few turns of spamming Hero's Rhyme and Sinewy Etude, then locking them down with Romeo's Ballad and blasting them with the chicken knife. As for History Falls itself, well, the classics never go out of style. Romeo's Ballad into 1, 2, 3 cuts all the way to the bottom. The last tablet's mine. Oh no, not red guy, whatever am I gonna do? Oh yeah! I've got my coral rings on, so this is a freebie, but surely Leviathan is dragon type, right? I'll start with the standard song buffs. Let's peep that Apollo's harp damage. Alright, I rescind my previous statement about all harps being dumpster tier. This one in particular is fine. The rest are still dumpster tier. You know the drill at this point, so let's do it all in double time. Hopping on Boko to get to the top of History Falls for the Magic Lamp. Then I'm heading off to the North Desert via Black Chocobo. Bahamut's a snap at the North Mountain. Oh look, somebody else is susceptible to Romeo's Ballad. I'll go ahead and lock you down too, Dragon King. Lena wins Bahamut over through the power of the Apollo's harp. By the time Bahamut actually gets a turn off, he's in Mega Flare range and promptly roasts himself. Bye-bye. Then I climb to the top of the disgustingly tall Phoenix Tower, followed by climbing to the bottom of the disgustingly short Sunken Walls Tower. Then I proceeded to do nothing until Gogo gives me the Mime Shard. Odin got trashed too with the chicken knife, but it's time for the real star of the show, the Interdimensional Rift, which is a big non-issue. I've finally got damage output, and I'm fighting my way straight down to Califisteri in the forest. The buffs start, and Bards continually stabs Califisteri right in the heart over and over again. 2800 damage a pop makes short work of her. Drain counters are not a problem, she's donezo. Next on the chopping block is the book-based Apanda. I cast level and strength buff songs. Bards uses chicken knife. Oh, protect, cute. The drain counters can't even come close to outpacing the damage of the chicken knife. It's all ogre for this ogre-like fella. The chicken knife's flee effect is annoying in boss fights because it whiffs, but honestly, I'm actually enjoying it during these relentless random rift encounters. Down in the dungeons, it's Azul Magia. Oh no. Dark Spark immediately on Bards, dude sick. Well, start the buffing, boys, get Bards' level back up to where it should be. Oh man, he actually used White Wind and it healed for 9,999, that's brutal. The band finally buffed up Bards enough to offset that Dark Spark, and now I've got the save point, which leads us immediately into Catastrophe. Get singing, boys! There's a lot of petrifies coming out. Okay, maybe I had too many people singing. I inadvertently locked down my whole party and lost. So I'll just have 2 buffers this time. Farissimo over here can chuck high potions all while Bards continues the chicken knifing. Alright, Earthshaker took me down, that's embarrassing. I must actually change my strategy, I guess. Well, this time it just worked out, I didn't change anything. Mostly because I resorted to throwing elixirs. I mean, I still have like 34 left. Bards finally castrated Catastrophe. Yikes. Big smooch for my spoony Bards, and here's Halicarnassus. Big Toad? Maiden kisses across the board. The buff songs begin from my backing vocalists. I'm gonna beat those booty cheeks like a bongo drum, bye-bye. Just a few more to go. Coral rings are on for Twintania. The buffs begin, as does the relentless slashing of the chicken knife. The tidal wave counters are all getting absorbed, so I have no fear. Right up until I eat a Giga Flare and get one-shotted. Okay, let's try that one again. Forgot my coral rings this time. Whoops, time for the encore. The buff songs begin, and then the cutting commences. Well, look who's out here making use of Bard abilities. Charging Giga Flare? Well, I'm simply gonna hide and leave the battlefield. Bards didn't make it this time, but that's alright. The gang's back in and they promptly revive him. You know, I'm just gonna leave Lena off the battlefield. Yeah, she dodged the next Giga Flare while everyone else was completely toasted. Lena's back in and the Phoenix down spamming begins. Tidal waves are healing my party back up to full too. Giga Flare number 3. Ferris and Lena got out in time. Get back in there and Phoenix down all day, every day. Bard stayed into attack, but Giga Flare number 4 took him out while the ladies left. This is taking forever. And you know what? What's one more Giga Flare between friends? The Phoenix down spam begins again. Bards gets up, and with one final slice, it's finally over. If you asked me how many Giga Flares I'd see in a single Twintania fight, my answer would never, in a million years, have been 5. I'm definitely gonna go save after that one. Gilgamesh, of course, is a non-issue at this point. Necrophobe's up next. Surely there's a new and exciting strategy to behold. Turns out, Romeo's Ballad works on the barriers. I've got Farissimo buffing with Hero's Rhyme. Time to lock the barriers down with Lena and Kryle while Bards does his chicken knife slicing. One barrier left. My levels are so high at this point that Holy doesn't even break 1000 damage. I'll heal up before I finish it off. Looks like despite my absurd buffs, Bards is still susceptible to getting his skull caved in with Vacuum Wave. I still have like 30 elixirs, I'm gonna use them. Former Singer is now slinging high potions while Bards continues to shred. This is a long and drawn out fight because only Bards has any real damage potential. The rest of the girls are in the back row and despite their buffs, their damage just sucks. My party is now featuring Gilgamesh as the honorary band member. Necrophobe is finished. This trip through the rift has been long. I'm sitting at level 55. It's time for the opening act, the Dawn Warriors! And Lena's dead. Boo! Get off the stage! Starting with Mighty March, followed by Sinewy Etude and Hero's Rhyme. Okay, I have to try it. Does Romeo's Ballad work? No. Not a surprise for the final boss. I just need to be careful here, because if I lock everyone down with singing, I can actually get wiped out. Wiped out by attacks like my nemesis, White Hole. Let's get her up real quick. Form 1 is not threatening at all. I can just continually buff my characters here and prepare for the much scarier Neo X death. I'm playing the long game. Buffing my characters, then healing them with high potions and dealing with inevitable white holes. Finally, it's time to start the party. Bards is cutting for around 2000 health. Hero's Rhyme is definitely paying off. White Hole is starting to whiff on people. My speed is also increasing. I'm getting turns faster and faster. Bards ate a flare, but I can just get him back in quickly. I'll pop one of my 30 elixirs. X-Death clearly got wise. Bards got slammed with white holes and the strongest magic over and over again. Doesn't matter though, I'm in this for the long haul. The Apollo's Harp can hit this form for 1000 damage. Finally, some actual damage numbers. The Chicken Knife's up to 3200 too, the buffs are truly paying off. First form of X-Death is down, it's time for the Battle of the Bands. My merry band of misfits of bards versus this horrific amalgamation of, like, everything. Since I've beefed up my stats so much, Bahamut and Leviathan from the Magic Lamp actually deal some good damage. You'll love to see it. Odin's still the showstopper. Zantek Sukin and Goodbye Lady in the Back. I'm gonna keep throwing out lamp charges. Bards will prioritize cutting the big beefy guy in the front. You know, that guy with the horns and the cape? Despite my massive levels and buffs, that Almagust is brutal. But it was survivable. Survivable is all I care about. I'm throwing elixirs all over the place. I continued spamming the magic lamp all the way down to Golem for Earthwall. That should help against those vacuum waves. My priority is killing that big bouncer at the top. Once he's gone, I only need to deal with Almagust and Grand Cross. And speaking of Grand Cross, here it is. Poison and Old, that I can deal with. The next Almagust actually took out Bards, but I've got a massive stockpile of items and I'm gonna use them. Bards is back up and healthy, then he smashed the front part down. Ha! I knew one of those parts was Dragon type. The back part takes 9,999 damage from Lena's Apollo Harp. Disgusting. She's gonna weaken the back part, while everyone else focuses on the last part at the bottom. I'll throw potions and elixir post Almagust and deal with whatever Grand Cross effects come out. This fight is in the bag. But I'm back to sub 100 damage from those elderly bards. It's like nothing's changed since Adamantoise. Math and counting is back in full force. I'm whittling both parts down at the same time, all for the dramatic grand finale. The bottom part falls first. Oh no! Meteor into Vacuum Wave, Lena's toasted. But Golem protects Kryl. I need Lena to kill the back part with her Apollo's Harp. But good old math never lets me down. Bards gets one final chicken knife cut off and the last part fades away. I've won the Battle of the Bands, probably because I brought a knife. That's Final Fantasy V completed using exclusively Bards, and I for one am very, very glad that it's finally over. Bard, the spooniest job, completed the game at the second highest level to date in a truly pathetic 1 day, 2 hours, 49 minutes, and 7 seconds. A Berserker tier clear time, but at a significantly lower level. That's all because who could have guessed throwing elixirs in Phoenix Downs is really good. The main takeaway from playing the Bard only challenge is that not having any damage output absolutely sucks. Daggers are fine baseline weapons, but Bard's base strength is so horrifically low that your damage output is just non-existent. Your whole team is just a bunch of little shrimps. I'm rarely surprised by things in video games these days, but dealing single-digit damage on Adamantoise was downright shocking. Harps are a cruel joke from the developers. The only time that they were useful in the main game was against Adamantoise. Every other boss or encounter, harps are just completely worthless. They will always whiff and never ever connect on anything actually meaningful or difficult. At the very end of the game, the Apollo's harp crushes dragon-type enemies. Neo Exdeath happens to be one of them, so that was nice. Otherwise, at the end of the game, you basically have one physical attacker with the chicken knife. Bard is downright embarrassing for most of the game. Once you get Bard, you have access to all of 3 songs. The harsh reality is that regen is just terrible in Final Fantasy V, but I was casting Mighty March in every battle because I basically had nothing else. Alluring Air would be good, but the confuse effect is not reliable even on basic enemies in random battles. Romeo's Ballad is the one and only saving grace for Bard for the vast majority of the game. A huge number of enemies and bosses are susceptible to its stop effect, and it's actually consistent. Without Romeo's Ballad, this would have been an absolute gong show, as opposed to just the regular gong show that it turned out to be. Requiem is disgusting against undead enemies, but there are only a handful of locations where it's even usable. Drakenvale and the Undersea Trench being the main ones. I've never actually used Bard before, so would I use it again? Honestly, probably not. At least not outside spamming Requiem in the Undersea Trench. Romeo's Ballad is undoubtedly strong for stalling random battles and certain boss fights, but you know what else is strong? Pretty much everything else in Final Fantasy V. Why would you use a turn stopping enemies with Romeo's Ballad when you could just clear them out with kicks from a monk, throwing scrolls as a ninja, smashing rods as any mage, or just trashing enemies with very strong physical attacks from the numerous physical jobs? Romeo's Ballad is good, but it's gotta be judged on a bell curve. It's good on Bard because it's the only even remotely powerful ability Bard gets for like 90% of the game. Bard's strongest abilities are hard-locked to the very tail end of the game. For the vast majority of the game, Bard is just a Romeo's Ballad dispenser. The harsh reality is, Bard is a support job without the ability to actually provide meaningful support. Once you finally get the strongest Bard spells and approach game-breaking territory, every other job's already been in the same boat for like the last hour. Black Mage gets tier 3 magic in more. Knights already have access to Knight Swords. Rangers are going to have X-Fight. You've been able to fire the Zenny Cannon since Archeo Avis on Samurai. The list goes on and on and on. If you want to just talk about comparing purely supporting roles, White Mage is just leagues better. You get both Protect and Shell. These are 2 of the strongest abilities in the game. Final Fantasy V assumes you're using a White Mage at all times. It's part of why Final Fantasy V has such high lethality. The game desperately wants you to use Protect and Shell at the start of every boss fight. World 1 is balanced around curative magic since you only have pathetic 50 HP a pop potions otherwise. Not to mention that White Mage has a bunch of useful debuffs as well. For other jobs that have supporting abilities, Time Mage's haste alone is so good that it makes it a contender for your support slot. Bard really just doesn't do anything well enough to justify using it. I know that not every job is going to be a banger, and some of them are just there as flavor, but it would be nice for Bard to have gotten a little bit more love. Or some strength at the very least. Bro really needs to start lifting and eating some meat. Only 8 songs is just not nearly enough for Bard. They really needed some more songs to even out the curve. With that completed, Bard marks the 11th single job challenge. Only halfway there, yikes. No, let's put some spin on that. I'm halfway done. Beautiful. I think I am through the worst of it though. Berserker and Bard were the clear standouts as the most difficult and annoying. Nothing can be as bad as those, right? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.